All right, getting the things going here, and we are starting. Welcome, folks, to Sea Monster Live. Your host, the Sea Monster, bringing you the 13th edition of Sea Monster Live. It looks like we already got a guest here. Here we go.
Oi.
Let's see. Yeah,
Yo, what's up?
you're on.
Yeah, wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Well,
Wait, what?
all right.
Oh,
All right. Sorry, you go ahead.
Nothing. I'm just like I'm looking in your views and there's like nobody. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we just got started here, so yeah, should pick up a bit.
Okay.
So, how are things?
Well, things are doing better for me.
All right.
How about you?
Doing okay. Doing
Nice.
okay. Yeah. So we're pretty much. I guess we'll just get right into it. So we're basically going to be. So what I have in mind for this stream is pretty much mainly covering Doctor Wolfula's video on the Last Voyage of the Demeter, but we could talk about the movie for a little bit. Just to get a general idea
All right.
of. So have you seen it or?
So I have, but my memory is kind of faint on it. I did see it when it came out, but here's what I do remember. It they were, oh boy, trying to like I forgot what country it was, but they were delivering packages to England, I think, and one of their packages was secretly put on board by
Dracula.
Yeah, not Dracula, but there were villages that were terrorized by Dracula, and I think it was Dracula's decision to go to England. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like basically Dracula pretty much came from Transylvania. I think the country that they're in is Romania. So yeah, they were going from Romania to England, and Dracula just kind of had like basically all Dracula, all like the luggage that is on the Demeter is pretty much from Dracula. Because there's like a whole bunch of boxes full of his soil of his native land, pretty much.
Yeah, I figured. And then after that, it was like every single night he would come out and then feast on the sailors on the boat.
Yeah, yeah, or at the very least, like a good number of nights he's like feasting on people, pretty much.
Yeah, he did control one sailor, and then he did eat the kid's blood.
Yeah. He pretty much bit. Yeah. He killed some sailors. He pretty much attacked another one of them, who's kind of like one of the more superstitious of the bunch, and so he kind of became pretty much zombified. Started chasing after the kid, The Shining almost a little bit, and then Dracula went after the kid, who's pretty much who's who's the captain's grandson.
Yeah, and then when he died, and then they were gonna like put him in the sea, he awoke just all zombified, and then he was burning, and he tried to burn the captain.
Yeah, well, he was trying to bite his grandfather pretty
Oh,
much. Yeah, they were trying to do like a funeral for him, like a procession, but the captain kind of like pretty much saw something going on in there where it looked like he may still be alive, pretty much.
yeah,
Well, basically turns out it's not technically his grandson at this point. It's just a horrific like husk that's
yeah,
kind of taken on that's going after him, and yeah, he burns up in the sunlight pretty much, and
yeah.
so
And then like the ending when it was like one of the sailors and then the girl that was brought with Dracula, they tried to fight him off, but then he ended up escaping to England, and then they were
yeah,
kind of setting it up for a sequel.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. The girl that was like on the boat, yeah, she's basically like Dracula's a food source for Dracula, and slave pretty much that they
Yeah.
found in the that Clemens, the basically a lead guy is who's not technically he I guess you. I guess you could say he is sort of a sailor at this point, but he's mainly like just a member of the crew because of he wasn't even initially gonna join it, but you know after like the
Yeah.
opening, they bring him on because he saved the captain's grandson from like
Mhm.
a crate falling on him, and basically like one of the crew members that they previously that was initially hired up became pretty much accidentally dropped the crate because he saw Dracula's basically signet, let's just say, and
Yeah.
he's all like, "Oh, it's like fuck all y'all," um, or something to that effect. Um, and so yeah, Clemens is sort of brought on, and he goes on to be like the sole survivor of the Demeter, and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm questioning because like the way it ended, uh, because I've always been curious on what they were gonna do, but like if they do I don't know if they're gonna do a sequel because considering that I don't think it made enough at the box office and I don't think it got good enough reviews. But
no.
if they do a sequel, which I don't really think they will, but if they do a sequel, I don't know. It's probably gonna be him versus Dracula in England, I guess.
It probably would be something like that. There may even be like some crossover into like with some of the characters like that are in England, like Mina and her husband, her fiance Jonathan Harker, or Van Helsing. So
Oh yeah, they could bring in Van Helsing
yeah,
or ooh, wait, I don't know if this character is in him, but might be too far fetched. But like, I could see them like adding like another Halloween character.
hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if there are any others in England.
Um, I'm
Unless you can count the werewolf because he was in France,
hmm.
I think.
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely. Yeah, it's kind of unclear like what the plan was for this movie. As far as like what it was setting up for, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's unclear if it's just kind of because the Demeter chapter, which is referred to as the Captain's Login, Bram Stoker's novel. That's kind of like this movie's pretty much based on that chapter. So I'm not entirely sure if this movie would just intend to just lead into like the story that like where the novel kind of goes pretty much. Obviously,
Yeah.
with of course Clemens being included because Clemens isn't even in the book.
Oh,
Because yeah, because the novel, like there were pretty much no known survive. There were pretty much no survivors on the Demeter, or at least it didn't seem like there were any survivors. So it was pretty much a ghost ship. Um, so in this movie, kind of like there's pretty much like just enough wiggle room as far as like with the conceit of this movie. There's pretty much enough wiggle room to indicate that there could be someone who may have like gotten off the ship alive, right
yeah.
before it reached Whitby, England, but there isn't really any indication, like any like positive indication of that, like guaranteed.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say like but as far as like where like whether or not it's intended to like set up something like a new like another like like a dark universe 2.0 or something like that. I'm honestly not. I don't really know. The
Yeah.
only yeah like I mean, at first I thought that the cane, like Dracula, there's like a basically a cane with like a silver handle at the top that kind of like has like a wolf engraving on it. Like at first I kind of thought, oh, is that like a hint at like the Wolfman or something of that nature? But
Oh.
then as I pretty much like checked out like some of the special features for the movie, there's pretty much an alternate opening scene for this film, where yeah, like the opening for the film kind of like shows the police kind of like Scotland Yard kind of finding the ship, the wreckage of the ship, and then finding the captain's log, pretty much, and then it just cuts the title. But there's an alternate version of this opening where it's like slightly more extended, where I guess Dracula in a wolf form, because Dracula has been known to turn into things other than
Yeah, he
bats.
can. Yeah, he can like turn into other animals, and even I think he can. Wait, no, I don't think he can turn into people, but I know he can turn into animals though.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, I mean, obviously he's most known for turning into bats, pretty much. But he can. But he's also can turn into a wolf, pretty much. And the alternate opening for this film kind of shows him in a wolf form, kind of running out of the ship. But the CGI was kind of unfinished, so I think it was probably they were initially intending to use it, but I guess they just didn't have the time to finish it. So
Oh, dude, do they have a video of that? I would like to see that.
I think it's on you. I actually may have found it on YouTube actually.
Yo, pull that out. I want to see that.
Um, yeah. Just a second here.
You
Oh,
know
wait
what
a minute.
would be even more interesting if they did this as like an opening, if like before Dracula decided to go to England, like I know this may sound too bit cartoonish, but like have like a scene where Dracula lives, because like didn't they say he lived in a castle?
Yes, he lived in a castle.
Yeah, like have a scene of just him leaving his castle and getting ready.
Hmm.
I know that may sound like too cartoonish, but it's like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, in the novel, like in other iterations of Dracula, it's like he would have to like leave his castle if he was to move to England anyways. So it's not really too out of the ordinary, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I can't really. Actually, I just realized I can't. Yeah, I'm pretty much streaming through my phone, and unfortunately,
Oh, you're
and
doing this all on your phone?
yeah, because
Uh,
my laptop is like
really bad.
my laptop's it's working, it's still functioning, but you
If you
know,
want, I can pull up the video and then I can present it or something.
okay, all right, yeah, just if there's like there should be like some kind of screen sharing type of thing.
Yeah, there is. Just send the link in DMs and then I'll share it.
Okay. Um, let me see. But actually, I don't know. Actually, I'm not even sure if I should do that because it could copyright tisms.
Okay, then how about we'll just take. Okay, then just send the link and then I
Yeah,
won't even present it then.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I could probably send. Yeah, I could send you the link like either at some
Yeah.
point during the stream or after. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much kind of interesting.
What video title is it called?
I think I just pulled it up as looked it up on the search engine as the Last Voyage of the Demeter alternate opening.
I'm gonna look
Um,
this up. Alter.
yeah.
I'm looking this up right now. I think I found it.
Hmm. All right.
All right, I'm just watching it right now.
Okay.
And it said that there was an unfinished CGI wolf running out of it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Ah, okay. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Oh, that's scary. What the, bruh? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Bro is literally just walking past him like, yo, what's up? Don't mind me.
I think there was like meant to be like a more like intricate sort of animation where he's like kind of in more of a rush like that than that.
Yeah.
So
It would have been cooler if like while he was running and he went up the hill and then he looked down at everybody and he was like, you have no idea what you just let go.
Mm, yeah. I wouldn't necessarily blame him for just like leaving the scene though, because like he's pretty much like, look, I pretty much almost died on that ship, so I'm not sticking around for any longer than I ever have to.
For real.
Yeah, pretty much. Last Voyage of Demeter is pretty fairly solid. I pretty much um, I will say I kind of have some. I do have some issues with the third act of the movie, pretty much, because there's like,
Yeah.
I mean, because like our so basically, or like, because our heroes kind of like try to come up with a plan to trap Dracula and keep him from escaping.
Hmm.
Um, like, and the plan is to just sink the ship, intentionally sink it so that Dracula would just drown in it.
See, that's
Um,
the thing though, is like that's a horrible idea because you realize he's got wings. He can just fly away.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering that Dracula is pretty powerful, like he could just kill them like pretty quickly. Which there's times where he easily could have and probably should have, but he doesn't.
Yeah, there
Um,
was like, remember the time when he was holding one of the main characters by the neck and he was like, he was kind of tormenting him, but then he was like, he was just about to, you know.
yeah, yeah, he was about to bite into him, and then the mast kind of falls on him. Which the thing just like takes a bit of time to. It seemed like the thing was taking quite a bit of time to like get to him. Like he could have easily just dodged it.
Bro, I find that so funny that he saw the mast falling down and he just stood there and was like, oh. No, he did that he did that Green Goblin like, oh.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, he literally did the Green Goblin oh, and then just
Yeah,
got boom.
yeah.
And it's even more funnier that the mass literally destroyed his balls. No, like
Yeah,
literally, it like he's done.
yeah. um, yeah, but I would say like another thing about it is like so. Yeah, I mean, considering like the thing about the captain's log thing is like the reason why I kind of understand where some people would be coming from about how this movie may be like unnecessary is kind of because there's supposed to be like a bit of mystique to what even happened on the ship, so we don't even know exactly what happened on there. Just that Dracula killed everybody on there.
Yeah.
Um, so once you have a movie that kind of adapts that particular chapter and goes into those details and kind of expands it on a feature length level,
Mhm.
there is a there obviously you would just have we would have to see like what happened on there pretty much. Um, so the fact is that the crew, like as we see it, the crew just kind of comes up with the plan to drown the ship before it gets to England. It's kind of like, how about you guys just kind of turn the ship away from where
Oh
England's
yeah,
going?
how come they didn't do that? Like,
Yeah, I
just
mean, yeah,
turn it away from England. Don't even go toward it.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, the benefit of kind of adapting of pretty much just of like adapting the novel as a whole, pretty much, and not going into much detail about what happened on the Demeter is so that it could just be like, well, yeah, like all kinds of crazy shit happened on there that Dracula kind of did. We don't really need too much detail, any more detail than that. So kind of elaborating on that, especially to this extent, especially when the crew just kind of become all extremely, completely aware of Dracula being on the ship by this point, it's kind of like, you guys could just steer away from the ship. I mean, you all probably going to die anyways, but at least if you sink the ship, he won't be able to get to England.
Not only that, but like this, obviously, this movie isn't perfect, but like there's a few problems I got with this film. But again, I haven't watched it ever since it came out. So, but there's like some stuff that I wish they would explain more. Like I get that. Oh, Dracula was going to England because wasn't it because like there wasn't enough blood where he lived?
Basically, well, like even Anna, the girl, pretty much says like, because his food source was kind of drying up.
Okay, so then it would explain that he's been basically just eating everybody in the villages and everything.
Yeah.
But like, it's just I wish they would kind of explain that more, because like, was it because was it because like his castle or whatever was near like a small village, or like was he in like an entire city?
I don't know if it necessarily like usually his castle would be depicted like in the like outside of villages, pretty much. But I don't think. I mean, I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't know if that. I don't know if that particular amount of detail is really necessary. It's just like
I know. I'm just saying. Like, I wish they would just show, at least like maybe, like, even just like a little scene, like where where he was getting his food source. I don't know. Maybe it's not a big deal, but like.
Yeah, well, I mean, his food source would just be the people, pretty much.
Yeah. Like he said, is this movie good? I mean, if you want to talk about like a horror Dracula film, it's not like the best, but like the depiction of Dracula in this film is really interesting. Like, it's not that average Dracula with a cape and then with clothes. I mean, he actually looks like a bat demon thing,
Yeah, he basically
he's pretty interesting. He doesn't look like an average Dracula. His design is very, I think, unique.
Yeah, he's pretty much kind of like a mix between, like, especially when he starts out, he basically looks like a mix between Gollum and and Nosferatu Dracula, like not the classic Bela Lugosi kind, but the other classic design, which is the silent era version of Dracula, which is Nosferatu. And then later on, he kind of becomes a mix between Nosferatu and Man-Bat, essentially, from Batman. So, and
now,
then
in terms of like writing and story, I definitely do think there are problems, but like, I think it's like, I mean, for me at least, I enjoyed it a bit, not like a lot.
Right. I mean, I kind of mentioned I had problems with had some issues with the plot in the third act, pretty much.
I'm not sure which act I had problems with. I'm not sure. Maybe it was Act 3, but hey,
Yeah, it's usually like Act 1. It's kind of like the setup, and things kind of start happening. Act 2, things start wrapping up more and more. Next thing you know, and then Act 3 is kind of like where it all kind of comes to it, where everything just kind of comes to a head. Where it tries to stick the landing in. It sticks the landing. It doesn't stick the landing all that great, pretty much. But I would say, like, I think what it kind of had going on in the first 2/3 was kind of enough to sort of carry it. The characters aren't really like aren't like the deepest, pretty much, but I would say like there's like enough going on with enough of them to be able to sort of make you go, okay, I kind of care about these people, at least with Clemens and Anna, and honestly the captain is probably like is Liam Cunningham's character is pretty much my favorite character in the movie, because he kind of goes through quite the gauntlet pretty much.
Yeah, he goes through a lot.
Yeah, he starts losing his crew, and his grandson especially, like, really just kind of, it's really tragic. And Liam Cunningham, who, if for those who don't know, he plays Sir Davos in Game of Thrones. Yeah, he's excellent in this film. Pretty much. So, yeah, pretty neat stuff. And yeah, Dracula is pretty well. I pretty much really kind of dig for the most part, in terms of conceptually, because like there isn't really much in the way of reason for him to try to like blend in with the people pretty much on the ship. He could just kind of go full on murderous vampire monster, on everybody.
You know what? I'm also surprised of how good his CGI was in the film. Like, it was really good. There was one shot I did find that looked weird. There was like the shot when it was like a really, really close up shot when he was opening his mouth to finish off one of the main characters. But like, just in general, his CGI in the movie was like really not like super, super good, but like it was pretty real.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have too much to complain about as far as the CGI. I think the film does a pretty fair job with blending the practical effects and CGI pretty much, because Dracula is played by an actor named Javier Botet, who's kind of been known to play like sort of like big creepy things, pretty much creatures. Or type stuff. Like he was, I think a couple examples I could think of was, I think he did like mocap for the Xenomorph for Alien Covenant, I believe, and or Protomorph, I guess, if you want to get technical here. And I think he also played the Slender Man in that really, really terrible Slender Man movie.
I've heard about a Slender Man movie, and I heard that it was like really bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. Oh, God.
But like the visuals in this movie are really good. And you know what's crazy though is that they actually built a real boat for this movie.
Yeah.
They built a whole real boat, and then like for the storms and everything. Like they actually, I think what they did was they put the boat in the water. Then they had a giant green screen, but then like in the water they had like these bubble effects to try and make the big waves, and then they would add the CGI, and it just looks so good.
Yeah, it looks pretty. Yeah, the movie pretty much looks like you could tell that the film that they were kind of working within a budget, pretty much. Like I think the film only cost like $50 million, but it's
really
much, 50 million. It's
that much, and oh my goodness,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean. 50 million, well spent for the most part, pretty much.
For like visuals and everything, it was well spent. But then, like, the writing,
yeah. I'd say
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like it's kind of good, but then at the same time, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, like the writing for the most, the writing pretty much is fairly solid, I guess you could say. It pretty much it's functional. Like it's a functional movie. It's it's just that you get to the last half hour. It's just the last half hour that kind of that kind of lets it down pretty much.
Yeah.
But up to that point, it's like there isn't really a whole lot in terms of issues that I could point to. I mean, like the scene where the kid's kind of being chased by the zombified sailor, pretty much. I will say it's kind of a bit of like it leans way too much into like the cliche of like a character just kind of going off on their own without having someone coming with them, in case there's like something dangerous on board, which it makes even less sense for the kid to not try to call up for his grandpa or a crew member to kind of go with him to leave the room for a bit, as opposed to just going out on his own to just check out what that noise is. That's like
Yeah.
down that way.
That's like a thing with every single horror movie I see. It's like there's noise in the basement. Don't go down. Even on a ship, don't go to the noise. If it sounds like wood breaking or something, then yeah, go to it because that means your ship is gonna sink. But if you hear like something walking, don't go down there.
Yeah, well, even then, he doesn't necessarily like have to go up to someone. He would basically, or right from the get go. All he has to do is just knock on wood, literally, just to
Yeah.
get people's attention, and just kind of meet them halfway, perhaps. Like it probably like it could have been. I definitely think there's some parts of that scene that could have been tighter. That could have been a little better.
Yeah. You know what was also what I thought really good was the music in this movie.
Oh yes, yeah, Bear McCreary. He
I
definitely did.
know, bro. I literally, when I watched the film and was listening to the music, I was like, "Who made this?" And I was like, and I looked at it, and it was like, "No way, Beer
Yeah,
actually made the music." And I was
yeah.
like, "It doesn't surprise me why it's this good."
Yeah, it's pretty solid soundtrack going on. um, yeah, and I would say there are some sequences in the movie in terms of like the horror and the suspense that actually do work pretty well.
Hmm.
That really kind of showcases how formidable Dracula kind of is.
Hmm.
Not just in the sense of like he's able to like catch the crew off guard because like they don't expect a fucking vampire on there for starters. But
Yeah,
even when they do know that something's wrong, pretty much because obviously the first indicator would be like their livestock, which is like their food supply, just being just brutalized, essentially. There's like a couple scenes where we see Dracula, like even at his weakest, he's able to be able to like get enough good hits on people to make a meal out of them.
yeah. Because
Um,
like when he was starting to like escape from his, like I think it was the first night he got out of his crate, but like he didn't have his wings or anything. He mostly just had his teeth and claws. He just wasn't like at his full form yet.
yeah, and
And he
and
was
he
weak, but like even then he was still able to get a good meal out of that.
yeah, he was like relatively, he was pretty much in a relatively weaker state, but he's still like, but he was still able to catch people off guard pretty much.
You know what's
'Cause, yeah,
also another thing is that he was surprisingly smart in this film. I don't know if you remember this scene, but the woman character, when she was shooting at Dracula, if you pay attention to the scene where he was like flying up to her, he intentionally grabbed the gun and threw it.
yeah,
He is surprisingly smart.
yeah, yeah, and this is like during the climax, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, yeah. I mean, it shows pretty how strong he is. I would say, but there's like a couple points, but yeah. But then it's like followed up by him just kind of like either biting her or like smothering her with his wings.
Oh yeah,
Which
that's something I was confused was why was he hugging her but not biting her? I was so confused on that scene.
yeah,
Like, buddy, you literally have a free meal right there and you're just hugging it? Like what is that?
yeah. It kind of makes even less sense because this is like they're like these are two people that are trying to sink the ship pretty much, and like these are like the last people that he has to kind of kill, and he's basically at, I would say probably like at like, if not full strength, then close enough at least. So he shouldn't even be that hungry at this point.
Well, that's
So
like another thing is that he kept eating so much and it's like, buddy, if you're going to eat, save your meal. Like don't like if you're on a ship like that, like if you're a bloodthirsty creature like that, it's like save your meal so that you can get to the mainland.
Well, I mean, he is. I mean, it took them a month. The ship was like a was it like a 3 week voyage, 3 or 4 week
Oh,
voyage? So he was saving his. So it's not that he wasn't saving his meals, pretty much. But it's just that during the climax, like you pretty much have like these characters who who are clearly trying to kill him, trying to stop him from getting to his destination.
yeah.
So, and considering we know how strong he is, and he certainly would have to know how strong he is himself, it kind of seems unnecessary for him to just basically play with his victims when it'd be like, dude, kill them, like just kill them.
Just get it done with.
Yeah. I will say, granted, Renfield, which was a few months before this, is pretty much is a little bit worse in that regard during the third act. I'll just be honest, but I can get into that. But I'll be getting into that in my video when I'm done with that. So,
All right.
um, yeah, but let's just say Dracula in Renfield, who was Nicolas Cage, who Nicolas Cage plays in that movie, is arguably like even more powerful than this version of Dracula if we were to do power scaling. So it kind of becomes even a little kind of less excusable for Dracula and Renfield to be kind of make some decisions that make me go, wait, why would you do that?
Oh.
than here. But I don't know if it's like by that much. I mean, this is a point that I will be kind of elaborated on perhaps a little more, at least for Renfield.
I haven't watched Renfield, but like I heard that it was much better than this one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I never watched it, but I saw reviews and that said it was pretty good.
I don't hate Renfield pretty much. In fact, I pretty much even think that it's not like awful by any means, but it's a mixed bag. Let's just say. If you ask me, I definitely think Voyage of the Demeter is better, pretty much, even warts and all.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I pretty much would. I mean, I guess like Renfield is kind of worth checking out, but not like. But I wouldn't like go out of my way to like pay
I'm looking at the reviews right now, and it doesn't really have that good. I'm just looking at audience, but like even for critics, it's not that good.
Yeah, neither of these films pretty much did well critically or financially when they came out.
Renfield, it earned like what, $2 million at the box office.
20 million.
20. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Not that well then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how well a movie does financially or critically isn't really much of a measure of how good or bad the movie is in general. I mean, if you ask me, Kingdom of Godzilla Kottom is pretty much proof of that. It's like really good movie. It's a shame that a lot of people didn't recognize it at first when it came out.
That's actually something that I have like seen on reviews. Like I'll look up Godzilla X Kong. No, not X Kong versus Kong. Hold on, let me look it up. Godzilla versus Kong. Because like I looked it up and I looked at the reviews and I was like, "There's no way." But like it says. But what's weird though, it says on IMDb, it says 6.3, which that I can understand because but like I was expecting it maybe to at least be a 5.9, but then what's weird though was I looked at Rotten Tomatoes and the critic side said 76. And I was like, what?
Well, I mean the audience score is still higher pretty much, even if it's marginally.
Wait, I know it's the audience score, but I'm just talking about critic score because I was like, what?
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. I don't know. I don't understand with these critics. I mean,
I don't know.
I can understand.
I don't know. Maybe it's because it was COVID and nobody knew what to watch, and it was just like critics kind of turned off their brain for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, GVK definitely was pretty much a hit, mainly because of circumstance, pretty much. Yeah, I would say, and plus, I mean, if people kind of like look at the trailer for it, and it's like, hey, we promise, where promises like Godzilla and Kong beating the shit out of each other in glorious fashion, and I mean, I can say, but it more or less delivered on that as like pure spectacle, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, and as a piece of like, I guess you could think of worse examples of escapism if you ask me, but yeah, it's not exactly like it's not high art by any stretch.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean,
I'm
people
gonna be
kind of like
honest. I haven't watched Godzilla versus Kong in like maybe 2 years.
hmm,
I don't know. You like when it comes to movies, I don't have the mental capacity to watch it over and over again because uh in fact I'll tell you a little story. When I was like really little, I was living with my dad in our apartment, and I had no other movie to watch. We had one film, and all I could do was watch it over and over again because of the life I was living in.
hmm.
And finally, when I got out of there, it was like I can't rewatch movies anymore. I can maybe do it. I can do it like once a year, but I can't do it like I can't do it. I can't rewatch a film, a month or a day or a week. I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. So
Especially
what
with
was
movies like Godzilla versus Kong or even Godzilla X Kong. Like I might not be able to like for Godzilla X Kong, I might not watch that film for another year.
Yeah, I pretty much kind of get. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a movie like that or GBK. It's kind of like when you're in the moment, it's kind of when it's like fresh, you're just like, okay, maybe I want to like maybe give it another go, just to
Yeah.
you know.
Like
See, but
it's not like but even with good films that I'll watch like uh well there's a lot of examples, but like even with good really really good movies, even with that I don't have the mental capacity to watch it over and over again.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess the only reason why I pretty much wouldn't be able to watch a movie again, pretty much, or more than once, pretty much like I used to, is just it's mainly just time. That's kind of what I don't really have, as or at least not as much as I used to,
Ah,
um, due to obligations, of course.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I was getting. What was the one movie that you were watching over and over? Just
I'm gonna send you a text because I don't want the viewers to know.
okay,
It's
send me in private.
yeah, but it was just it's bad. Here, hold on, let me send you.
Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. All right. All right. Private chat here. Let's see here.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Discord. Never mind.
Yeah. I mean, we hit private chat in the StreamYard here. I mean, I got Discord up. I mean, I might as well just I might as well pull it up here. Give me a
Yeah,
second.
I didn't know if you were talking
Hold
about
on.
private chat on here.
Okay. All right. Give me a minute here. There we go.
Don't speak to me. It was the only movie we had.
Of all the things, of all movies,
Yeah.
what? Hello,
Yo, it's
Minecraft
Minecraft
World.
World.
Yay!
Join
You
us.
coming
We're
on?
bored.
Join us, for we are Legion. Yeah, we'll be yeah, yeah. Last Voyage of Demeter. I would say, pretty, recommend it pretty much for anyone who don't know of it, it's worth a watch. I mean, in a way, I kind of understand why the movie didn't even do that well financially, because it seemed like the movie wasn't even all that well marketed. Really, it just kind of
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't. Wasn't there
it,
like only 2 trailers that came out and that's it?
yeah. I mean, like I've seen. I'm not even sure. There may have been, and I think I've only seen like the first when it played in front of Renfield, when I saw that in the theater. But yeah, like it wasn't even marketed all that well. It was like one of those movies that literally just kind of came and went. And,
I feel like that's what it was
well,
too.
to a certain extent. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. Like on the one hand, I kind of understand. Yeah. Here, but yeah, I mean, on the one hand, I can understand that why the movie would be sort of overlooked, because people kind of often criticized it as being very similar to Alien, but I mean, I can't really be critical of it for that, really, because like it's Dracula on a ship and kill the crew. That's kind of the conceit of the novel. That's kind of the conceit of that particular chapter in the novel and in various film incarnations, whether it's the Lugosi version or the Francis Ford Coppola directed version. I mean, it's kind of hard to not see those similarities in there, whether they were intended to be there or not.
Yeah.
And obviously, I would say Alien is a better film for sure.
Oh yeah, no, Alien. Now here's the thing though. I have never watched it, but from what I heard, it was like one of the greatest Alien films to ever exist.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I mean,
pretty solid. How you doing,
my
Mike?
first Alien movie. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. So you're talking Last Voyage? Then
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
I haven't seen Voyage.
You're kind of roboting a little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
probably some point.
Buddy, you're lagging.
Yeah.
You're lagging really bad. We can't understand a word you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm lagging.
Now you're not. Now we can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, try
Okay,
again.
but yeah, I haven't seen Last Voyage. Okay.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Just don't put your fingers or hands on your microphone.
Yeah, I'm not touching my mic.
Well, no, like if you're
Not
holding a phone or an iPad, what will happen is like if your fingers are on the speaker, then
Yeah, I'm doing this through my computer. The internet in my room is absolutely terrible. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, as you were saying.
Yeah. I haven't seen Last Voyage, but I do want to reread. I want to reread Dracula before I do. So,
right.
But yeah, how have you guys been?
I'm doing better.
Yeah, doing all right.
Good. That's good. That's good. Glad to know you're doing okay.
How about you?
I am fine. I watched Troll yesterday.
Oh, yeah, the Netflix one?
Yeah, the Norwegian Netflix movie. It was surprisingly enjoyable. And then I rewatched The Sea Beast immediately afterwards, and I had a good time with that. So
you know what's crazy though about that movie? It was the helicopter battle stuff. That was like based off of the Kong 2017 movie.
yeah, and yet it felt different. If anything, the film itself reminded me a lot of Daimajin. If you know what that is.
No, I do not.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get around to watching Troll at some point. I did watch Troll Hunter at some point, the found footage.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing that one as well, since I loved Cloverfield, and that one looks like it's going to be an interesting film. So
Yeah, it's kind of like a sort of faux documentary style type of movie about some people like looking for trolls essentially, and like I mean like there's times where you could tell that they probably were just just slightly more ambitious with the budget that they had with the troll effects going on at times because the trolls are pretty much CGI and they do I would say they do a better job than not at like obfuscating, the budgetary limitations there and the technical side of things. But yeah, for the most part, they look pretty solid for a movie with such a small budget. And yeah, pretty interesting, pretty neat little movie.
Yeah, from the clips I've seen, it looks interesting.
Yeah. Well, so I guess we could just get into the video that we're going to be talking about today.
Oh, yeah, so I'm curious.
Also,
what is this video about? Is it like?
It's mainly a review. It's mainly a Doctor Wolfula's review on the Last Voyage of the Demeter. Like I pretty much gave the movie like a rewatch recently, along with Renfield for the video that I'm working on for both of them. And I kind of like, and just out of curiosity, I was just kind of like checking back at like some reviews on YouTube for the Last Voyage of the Demeter, and there isn't really like a whole heck of a lot out there from what I could tell. The Doctor Wolfula one was like the one that I kind of think like, hey, this might seem fairly notable, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I don't recall the video to be like. I'll just say this much. It's not like a terrible video by any means. It's not terrible.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not talking about EFAP's Cottom video, so we're not.
Thank God. Oh, thank God. Thank God for that. We're not talking. We're not doing something that level. Oh God, that was torture.
What's wrong with that video? Because I have no idea what that is.
EFAP, the podcast Every Frame a Pause. It's EFAP is like this podcast that's hosted by YouTubers named Mauler, Rags, and Fringy, just to name a couple. Back in the pretty much a few years ago, they did something called EFAP Movies, which is kind of like a bit of like MST3K style sort of thing, where they're like doing just kind of like watching a movie pretty much. And Godzilla King of the Monsters was one of them, and their take on it was absolutely like dreadful. Like me, Minecraft World, and C Animus pretty much covered it in one of my earlier streams, and that video was like so egregiously bad that I had to do like
it was basically just a movie reaction of King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
What is their? How do you spell their channel? Because I'm just curious.
EFAP.
Yeah. Whoa, hell, slow down. What is it?
EFAP. EFAP.
AP.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Cottom. It was the Cottom video. That video was my equivalent to Schaeferless Productions' Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate.
Yeah.
I've never seen this channel before, so.
Yeah. I pretty much recommend like checking out my the supercut that I put together of the highlights from our stream on that video. Pretty much, it's almost 3 hours because there's just a lot to there was like so much to unpack with that video. But yeah, it's
the stream. The stream itself is twice Cottom's runtime. It's twice the runtime of the original movie. It is long. Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, I'm probably gonna head out at around 4:30 my time, 6:30 your time, because that's when I have to go to work. So
okay.
I won't be on this stream forever too. Like I might stay for like maybe 15 minutes because of what time it is for me. So.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess we should. All right, then I guess we should just try to jump into the video then.
Okay.
How long is the video?
He's asking how long the video is.
It's only about, let me see, I think it's about 13 minutes.
Ah.
So.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Let me see here. Yeah. So I mean, like unless anyone here could pull it up on screen share, I'm pretty much gonna have to be like playing it through my phone on my laptop. I got it pulled up here. So.
Okay.
Give me a second here. Okay. And yeah, well, let's. All right, everyone ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Also, but when you start, before you start, I just want to say this. If it does happen this week, have you guys been seeing the news that the Sonic 3 trailer is supposed to release on the 6th?
No, I haven't heard about that.
Because I was about to say, like, when that trailer releases, there are gonna be so many breakdowns and so many reviews. I tell you, there's gonna be more reviews and breakdowns than any movie.
Yeah, I'll bet. That'll be.
All right, you can start the video.
All right, here we go.
Greetings, I'm your host, Doctor Wolfula, with a review of the Last Voyage of the Demeter. Demeter? I don't even know her. The new film, loosely based on a passage from Bram Stoker's original Dracula novel about the titular doomed sea vessel Demeter and its unknowing transportation of the legendary vampire from Transylvania to London. We call him Dracula. I don't know about you guys, though, but Last Voyage of the Demeter is a weak title. The layman is not going to know what the hell a Demeter is. They should have gone with the title I pitched to them. SS Dracula. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure like how you could have sorted out that whole title thing. I mean, it's kind of like maybe they could have had Dracula : Last Voyage of Demeter, but that would just seem like a really long title.
Yeah.
A bit. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not really sure how I would really fix it. Yeah, again, like the movie easily could have been marketed like so much better, pretty much.
Well, that's the thing though, is like this was a movie about Dracula, and it's like when people, because here's the thing, so many people around the world know who Dracula is, but like when you have a movie title or when you have a movie that's about Dracula, and then it's called The Last Voyage of the Demeter, nobody's gonna know what that means. It's like,
yeah,
like,
and
I get it's a for the title, it's an interesting title. It's just the thing is, it's bad marketing because nobody's gonna know what that means. It's probably why this movie failed pretty bad because like nobody knew it was Dracula that was in this movie.
Yeah. Well,
unless if you count like the trailer that it showed Dracula on the trailer, but it's like it's not really. I mean, sure, it might show attention, but it's like
Yeah, well, the thing is, even that, there's even like text cards or taglines or stuff like that, or even
have taglines that says Dracula, so people will know.
Yeah. And I've just kind of realized apparently, like I guess maybe it just has to do with the fact that there's been so many iterations of Dracula that people are just kind of that it almost seemed like a bit of like Dracula fatigue, perhaps. Which, I mean, unless it was like a really good Dracula movie, like a knock your socks off amazing Dracula, I guess people just aren't going to be that interested. They'll just be like, I'll just wait for this to come out on Redbox or wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
It sounds a little Third Reichy, but I think it could work.
Here, hold on, leave it back.
I think it could work.
Here, let me back up a second.
But
hold on.
The Demeter is. They should have gone with the title I pitched to them. SS Dracula. Sure, it sounds a little Third Reichy, but I think it could work.
Wait, what title was he saying? SS what?
SS Dracula.
Dracula.
What is SS supposed to mean?
It's supposed. SS Dracula is kind of supposed to be like sea ship or something, like how like USS Indianapolis or something. But he said like I know that title sounds a bit Third Reichy, but Yeah. Anyways.
The Demeter on charter from Romania to
Now, before I chat about Dracula's cruise line adventure, though, I figure I've been out of commission for a while. Might as well talk about the new movies I saw this summer. If you just want to get straight to the Demeter review, skip to this time code.
Okay, I'm gonna skip a little bit ahead to the time code of 3 minutes and 40 seconds because he's kind of talking about other movies pretty much that he saw. They're not exactly relevant. One of them was like there were Oppenheimer, The Flash, Barbie. There were like some others, but it's not all that relevant. So we could just kind of skip ahead here. All right, here we go.
Oppenheimer was an absolute blast.
Yeah, Oppenheimer is a amazing movie.
Barbenheimer, like Barbie and Oppenheimer coming out together, like the whole build up for that. That's
this
what I was
may
referring
be a
to.
hot topic. This is gonna probably be a hot topic. As much as like it was really cool to watch Oppenheimer, I was really bored watching the film.
Yeah, fair.
The only thing that
like
excited me was when the bomb came off.
Yeah, I think Oppenheimer got better. I think Oppenheimer was better. I enjoyed Oppenheimer more, I think, to me, since I watched -1 first. And Oppenheimer felt like a really. It captured a lot of what I loved about -1. So that's part of why I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Oppenheimer and pretty much wasn't bored with it at all, and I pretty much didn't even need -1 to really appreciate Oppenheimer because Oppenheimer.
I mean, for me, it's like I can see the similarities between -1 and Oppenheimer, but it's like with -1 I wasn't bored, but then with Oppenheimer I kind of was.
I think like the biggest similarity you could just kind of say it's like, oh, there's like there's like some reference to like nuclear power pretty much, as well as like the fact that you have like a scene where a something akin to an atomic bomb that results in a mushroom cloud just kind of going off, and just kind of like create the big spectacle of it, as well as the fact that they're both kind of character driven movies, and what have you. But yeah, anyways.
We're caught up. Back to the Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is funnily enough Universal's second Dracula movie this year, with Renfield preceding it and bearing a very different tone. I didn't see Renfield myself. It just looked too goofy with humor that didn't land for me in the trailer, and I wasn't so into the martial arts action movie take on the premise. It just seemed really questionable to me.
Okay, obviously we're dealing with a little bit more than just narcissism here.
Last Voyage of the Demeter was intended to come out a very long time ago, though. The film's story was conceived in 2003 and spent about 20 years in development hell with so many different...
Wait, what? 20 years to develop?
Yeah.
There's no...
That...
Okay, that's... What? Like, I can understand it would take forever to build the ship, but like 20 years to develop?
20 years to get a script going, pretty much.
I was about to bring up a comparison with Congo 5's development. But like Congo 5 took nearly a decade. This took 2 decades.
Yeah, yeah. It's not 20 years to make the movie. It's more like 20 years to kind of like get like a script going, to get like some names attached to kind of get the thing made. Yeah, I mean it's kind of it's kind of interesting.
I'm gonna be honest. That if it here's the thing: if you are writing a story, and if it took you, let's say, 2 years at least to think of a story, or even 3, that's understandable. But 20 years, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. You must be brain dead to not that much creativity in your head to create a story if it took you 20 years to do that.
Yeah, I mean, considering that people just kind of say, like, I think it's because of the fact that people are like, oh, they were worried that people are going to think it's too similar to Alien. It's like, well, people ended up saying that anyways, because just the premise of the movie itself, it's Alien, but on like a ship in the 1890s, and instead of a xenomorph that starts out as a face fucker, that turns into a chest burst, that lays a chest burster, and the chest burster grows up into an alien. It's Dracula, pretty much.
If I'm gonna be honest, if I was gonna write a Dracula film, like I would spend a good year to think of a story, but like,
Yeah.
20 years, my goodness.
If I were writing a Dracula film, I'd probably just do a modernized, like an adaptation of the original novel, but set in the modern day.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if it would have taken me 20 years to like try to come up with anything related to Dracula, I would just be like, well, give me 20 years to come up with like how to get like how to get like a modern Universal Monsters universe going that's actually that's actually gonna turn out well.
Well, it's like, it's like, is it that hard to come up with Dracula on a boat? Like I could, like if it took like a week or something to think of that, or even longer, I'll understand. But like, come on, 20 years to think of an idea of Dracula killing people on a boat.
Dracula on a boat, albeit it's probably one of the most tense sequences of the book. So like, it's right there.
It's right there. No, they start off and they're like, "Don't worry, we got this." 20 years later. So one of the producers comes up with the book and he's like, "Hey, we should read the book."
Or maybe,
and he's like, "Oh, we spent 20 years wasting our time."
No. It's that one Squidward meme where he's like composing and then he pulls up the paper and it's just, it's finished. If you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, there's been like it's kind of weird that it would take them this long to get this movie going, get like a script for this thing going, and greenlit and what have you. When up to this point, there's been like almost like over 90, or heck, not even 90, like over 100 years of Dracula films, and that's pretty much that. A lot of them depicting like the voyage in some way, shape, or form, as one chapter of the bigger story. Granted, but even if we were just like, you had to be tasked to try to expand on this one chapter of the novel, into a feature film, it shouldn't even be that hard. It shouldn't even.
It really shouldn't. Like, especially, like, here's the thing: when you are creating a story, when you have the knowledge to create a story, because when you create a story, you need to have the knowledge to create, good stories. Because people that write stories that don't have the knowledge to like understand what it means to like write a good story, or even like look into the books of the story, it's like, you can do it pretty quick, because there are directors I know who have made some of the greatest films in history, and it took them like probably a year, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like Takashi Yamazaki pretty much, spent years like, drafting and redrafting his script for -1, pretty much during COVID times, so that, and time well spent, pretty much, because.
Oh yeah, no, he spent like what, 4 years, I think, writing the script.
I believe. I think maybe I think I said 3, but it could have been 4. Probably.
Okay, because if it was 3, it's like that's a good time to really think about that.
Granted, I wouldn't be surprised if he spent longer than that to kind of work on it, because it definitely seemed like a passion project of his for the longest time. Which is why I'm hoping that the Robert Eggers remake of Nosferatu is going to be amazing, because that film is like a passion project of that director's.
It already looks incredibly promising. So.
Oh yes.
I saw
Alien
the trailer
Ramos?
and I saw the trailer and my interest peaked, and then I read the casting Bill Skarsgård is Nosferatu himself.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. And then my goat Willem Dafoe is in there. So
Willem Dafoe. Oh my.
Yeah.
Wait,
Willem Dafoe is going to be in the Alien movie?
No, Nosferatu.
Nosferatu.
I thought you said. I thought you said something. I thought you said Romulus. I was like, what?
No, Alien Romulus also looks good though. I'm very excited for that one.
Yeah, I'm looking at the production sort of thing on Wikipedia here, and from the looks of it, like just in the development section, it's like, let me see here, like it's all kinds of craziness about it. It's like, so someone took an interest in a miniature of the Demeter used for the film. Basically, let me see. Okay, 2003, Phoenix Pictures acquired the film and tapped Robert Schwenk to direct and rewrite the script. Progression would stagger until December 2006 when James B. Hart, screenwriter of Bram Stoker's Dracula, turned in a new draft for the script. In May 2009, Schwenk moved on, and Marcus Dispel would step in as replacement. Production was slated to begin that year. However, due to complications adapting the period setting and filming on the water, Dispel too would depart. So apparently it's just like some like rewrites going on, and as well as just trouble even getting the thing made for various reasons.
Oh, so basically the entire 20 years was like they kept writing scripts, but then like was it like Paramount kept saying that no, this isn't good, and they had to keep doing it?
No, it's I think it's more to do with like people just coming and going, just leaving over and over.
Oh, okay, then that I actually can understand if it took that long. That would make sense then.
Yeah,
there's no way the director would sit at his desk for 20 years to write a script, and it's like,
right?
There's no way.
Yeah, apparently Noomi Rapace and Ben Kingsley were going to be in this movie at one point, but then complications kind of happened where Rapace had to drop out, due to her commitment to Prometheus, and I guess Jude Law was also in line to lead it. Then next thing you know, like. So a director named David Slade was attached to it at some point in February 2011, but then he reassured that the film would still move forward despite signing on to a Daredevil film, which never happened. Which is interesting. Neil Marshall was boarded to direct and produce the film. But I'm guessing he left as well. And then
every single director Paramount trying to pull in, they just kept leaving.
Yeah. Not only that, but also it's been taking them so long that they had to go. They went through directors and various cast members to get it, because then like Viggo Mortensen was in talks to portray the lead role, while Kingsley was still said to be attached to the project, and Rapace's involvement was remained in doubt.
Were they pulling in just random directors or like legitimate directors?
Some of them pretty much seem pretty legitimate. I mean, like Neil Marshall, who is the director of The Descent, which is a pretty damn good movie, by the way, survival horror film. He was kind of attached to this film. I would have been interested to see how he would have done this if he stayed on, but he left too. And then in October 2019, it was then we got the director of Troll Hunter. Speaking of the devil, Andre Ovedal, Norwegian filmmaker, who was then assigned to direct the film, and that's the guy that we actually did end up getting.
Okay, because I was like, what?
Yeah, basically the writers for the film, the screenwriters that worked on the film, who were Bragi Schutt Jr. and Zach Oikewicz. God, I hope. Don't ask me whether or not I pronounce those names correctly. Yeah, I mean, they still got the screenplay and the story credit pretty much. While the other people who came and went, they kind of received like off-screen additional literary material credit. So,
okay.
So yeah, I mean, I guess it was taking them so long to make this thing that they just went through, directors and actors pretty much, like it's almost like the script was already written, but they just kind of
couldn't find a director and good actors because they kept all leaving and everything.
Yeah, I mean, they were trying to find a way to get it made, but for some reason, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they lost the script at some point, and next thing you know, they just found it somewhere. It was like, oh wait, oh yeah, that's right.
This film we forgot to make 20 years ago.
Yeah, Yeah, I was wondering if we were gonna make a Dracula movie where he was on a ship. Yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah, interesting stuff.
I'm
bit of a digression
why
from the
all
video.
the directors kept leaving. Either they didn't want to, or just they were too busy doing other films. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the people who were trying to work on this movie wanted to. It's just that they weren't. Production wasn't able to start before they were pretty much called in to do other stuff. I mean, because actors and directors, they gotta eat too. They gotta move on to other things if something's not getting off the ground right away.
There were so many big movies that were coming out in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So it's I can understand.
That's crazy to me. That's Ben Kingsley was going to be in this.
Just think of how this movie would have been if it was made in 2010 or something.
Yeah. And again, it would have been interesting to see what the director of The Descent would have done with this take of Dracula, but we guess we'll never find out. But I mean, what we got, it works well enough, I would say. It's kind of a miracle that it's kind of weird that this movie just turned out to be. It's it's not that bad. Nowhere near as bad as people are making it out to be. Which is almost a miracle in a sense. It's a miracle that it took 20 years of development hell for the movie to get made and for it to turn out to be actually okay at the minimum. Anyways, back to the video.
Okay, obviously we're dealing with a little bit more than just narcissism here.
Last Voyage of the Demeter was intended to come out a very long time ago, though. The film's story was conceived in 2003 and spent about 20 years in development hell with so many different directors and stars attached to it over the decades. Now the movie arrives in 2023, directed by Norwegian filmmaker André Abwaldal, with a cast mostly comprised of actors I've never seen before.
TV actors never seen before. How dare you disrespect Sir Davos, good sir? Here's the thing, Corey Hawkins, who plays Clemens, he's the guy that plays Houston Brooks in Kong Skull Island. So,
oh wow, yeah,
and the actress of the film, Aislinn Franciosi, it's an Irish name. She was known for as the lead role in a movie called The Nightingale, which apparently is a really fucked up movie, from what I heard.
Oh no.
So yeah, I won't go into how fucked up it is apparently, but I
don't want to watch that then.
But and David Dastmalchian as well was in this movie. So yeah, I mean, if you don't know who that is, Polka Dot Man from the Suicide Squad.
Oh.
And Dune Part 1, where he was the one guy, pretty much. I can't remember he's not Rabin, the other guy, pretty much, who was one of the other Harkonnens. Anyways, so it's it's just kind of weird that I get maybe Liam Cunningham, perhaps, considering that he was in Game of Thrones, but the other actors, it's not that like it's a star-studded cast pretty much, but I would like to think that there would be like enough that there's like enough people in there to at least recognize David Dastmalchian, like considering that he's like big these days.
Yeah.
The cast mostly comprised of TV actors I've never seen before, and David Dastmalchian. God's
Oh, I guess he did. Okay, I guess he did highlight David Dastmalchian. Never mind.
God's anger has come upon this vessel like Jonah. Shut up! Is the
yeah, you basically got like this. He just showed a clip of like the guy, the more God-fearing guy, pretty much the cook, pretty much just being like, God has angered us, for our sins. God had been angered by our sins, pretty much, and now we're paying for it. And David Dastmalchian, who's the first mate, wash check, is all like, dude, shut the fuck up. Out of context, in context of the movie, it's not that funny. It's just kind of like, dude, seriously, like people are dying right now. We don't need your God-fearing bullshit right now. But I mean, like out of context, it gets kind of funny.
Well, here's the thing though, with that one, if they actually say that in this scene?
Say what?
Like, oh, God is angry because of our sins.
The cook pretty much said this.
That I don't find funny at all, actually, because first of all, that's just the wrong message.
Well, no, out of context, what I'm saying out of context is like, is pretty much when David Dastmalchian tells her to shut up, pretty much.
I mean,
like,
if you want to put that out of context, like, yeah, but like, I just
in the context of the movie itself, it's really not funny, pretty much.
Even just by that, it's not funny at all.
Yeah.
Last Voyage of the Demeter worth the 20-year wait? Let's find out in my review. But first, I have a message from my sponsor, me. Pledge to my Patreon today to support the channel, help it continue to grow, and you'll also get access to weekly movie nights every Sunday and archive commentaries if you miss the movie nights live. Just $5 a month to get a movie night every week. Pledge to patreon.com/Doctor Wolfula if you're interested, and I thank you in advance.
So I guess if you want to like support him, if this video kind of wins you over or anything else there.
Listen, Sea Monster, I gotta get going, but if I can, I'll see if I can join back if I can. But if you stop the stream, that's fine. But I gotta go for now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not planning on having the stream be a very long one, really. Okay.
All right then. See ya.
See ya.
I'm probably also gonna go as well. So.
Okay.
Take care, dude.
All right, you take care. And now there was just me. And I guess I'll just provide a commentary here throughout the video.
The Last Voyage of the Demeter is an adaptation of the Captain's Log section of the original Dracula novel. The whole novel was split up into letters and diary entries to tell its story, and the Captain's Log was essentially a series of journal entries by the captain of the doomed ship Demeter, chronicling its final journey at sea, shipping crates from Transylvania, one of which carried Dracula, who went sick house and the crew at night, picking them off one by one until the ship arrived in London with everyone aboard dead.
Yeah, pretty much. Just kind of a descriptor of kind of what happens. Okay, let me see here. I'm gonna post. Give me a second here. Maybe. All right, I'm gonna post the StreamYard link in the chat here. Anyone who wants to hop on, So I see there's at least a couple people watching. All right. Anyways. Up. Backtrack just a couple seconds, but that's fine.
Dracula, who went sick house and the crew at night, picking them off one by one until the ship arrived in London with everyone aboard dead. Film adaptations of Dracula tended to keep exactly what happened during the Demeter's voyage mysterious, leaving it up to your imagination just how powerful Dracula is. The book is vague about what happened on the Demeter, but the movies were often even vaguer.
Captain's log, the Demeter opens.
Just gonna pause it there for fair use reasons. Pause it there. Yeah, pretty much. Kind of went over it earlier in the stream where like the chapter, the captain's log chapter is kind of doesn't really go much into detail about what happened on the ship aside from the captain's like POV. Just kind of give it a general idea of like what was kind of happening on the ship, in terms of like the crew dying pretty much and what have you. And the movie adaptations don't really go much into detail about it, either. So, yeah. Yeah, that's basically not too different from what was said earlier in the stream. Which again, I mean, I kind of understand why people would kind of take issue with the Last Voyage of Demeter kind of being like perhaps like unnecessary as far as like adapting this particular chapter or a bit redundant because of the fact that it mainly has to do. It mainly just kind of relates to how like the mystique of the whole thing is sort of what makes this chapter like such a chilling part of the original novel and other iterations of Dracula, especially the novel, where it's just like what even it just kind of like makes you wonder like what did Dracula do on that ship. So when you pretty much see like the specific details of and the minutia of like what the crew was doing at the time, what they were feeling, and what have you, there's like a lot of there's like more variables to kind of think about, to kind of like take into account when you're telling the story, for cause and effect purposes, to follow along, like whether or not the characters would make a smart decision or not, and whether or not it would make sense for them to do that or not, make a certain decision or not. And that's kind of why I take issue with like the third act pretty much, because it's sort of like with the book and other iterations of Dracula, like only just kind of having the Demeter voyage be like a cliff note in the story somewhat. A chilling cliff note, granted, but a cliff note nonetheless. Like when we pretty much start getting into the details, it just kind of makes you wonder, like, how come these characters didn't think to do this? We're kind of left wondering why they didn't do that, as opposed to the other iterations of Dracula, where we don't even go into the details, so it's kind of like it's like up to like interpretation of like what happened there, or it's just like it's something to sort of think about. But yeah, just kind of like a curious sort of thing that you could take or leave in terms of like whether or not you would want the answers to that question. Yeah. Anyway.
1897. We picked up 50 boxes of experimental birds, bound for London, England.
The Last Voyage of the Demeter's plot seeks to fill in all the gaps between Dracula leaving Transylvania and arriving in London, and consequently, taking away from the mystery surrounding this part of the story.
People is on board.
The story of the film chiefly concerns Doctor.
I will say that it's kind of a weird edit to just kind of play. It's kind of a weird little edit there to put in that clip of the guy just saying "evil's on board." It's a weird little edit there in that video. But I mean, yeah, I guess like in order to kind of like tell this particular story, like we would have to kind of take the mystery out of it. I kind of get where he's coming from. I pretty much do get that, and it does, and yeah, it does. But it's just a matter of like, does the story still work as it is? It's kind of, I mean, funny thing enough, it pretty much like reminds me of when I was like discussing with Zilla 99 about Kong 05 on his Kong 05 debate stream, which Yeah, there's a neat little stuff there. But where I kind of was like, well, here's the thing. Like, I pretty much would get that it's sort of like that it's certainly not exactly in line with the original King Kong. But like, what if it's like a different, like, sort of a new take on the story, pretty much? Like, would that necessarily be like a bad thing? Or I probably have to check back the stream again or the whole thing, because like I will admit, like, I kind of missed out on like the first half of like that debate stream. I didn't even come in until like fully. I tried to come in, but I had like stuff like just coming up and just constantly just distracted me. So I had to like, as well as like some technical issue here there about regarding an echo on that stream. But yeah. But I was able to join up full time eventually. But yeah, I digress. I digress.
And consequently, taking away from the mystery surrounding this part of the story.
Everyone is on board.
Yeah, again, it's a weird edit there in that clip. You probably could have just left that out, if you ask me. Like, I don't know. Like, and it's just mainly in regards to this video itself.
Story of the film chiefly concerns Dr. Clemens, the first black doctor to graduate from Cambridge University.
You dress like a learned man. University of Cambridge. I know the way around the world.
After going on a cross-continent tour, facing discrimination from hospitals all over Europe, Clemens decides to head back to England, hitching a ride as a crewman on the Demeter, which is hauling a big shipment of Transylvanian soil for some mysterious reason.
Why do they fill these boxes with earth?
Just playing this clip of Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker in the Coppola version of Dracula. Love you, Keanu. I mean, we all do, pretty much. Like, Keanu Reeves, like one of the best human beings out there, pretty much. Really cool actor, especially as John Wick, what have you. But yeah, like sorely miscast in Dracula. I mean, and it becomes really noticeable. It becomes really noticeable, like, how not great he is in that movie. Especially when he shares the screen with Gary Oldman as Dracula, who's just like, it's almost like unfair to Reeves, pretty much, in that instance. It's like damn, man. So chat, how y'all doing? Yeah. But yeah, as far as like a Clemens goes, yeah, there is kind of like as far as like him being like a doctor, pretty much, and who's kind of like trying to find a gig, find a job, and he's having bad luck because of basically because of the color of his skin. It's definitely like a pretty neat sort of like thing going on, and it pretty much fits in pretty well with his character, due to the fact that he's like trying to make sense of the world, as he puts it, and try to make sense of like why things are the way they are, and just come to a better understanding of the world around him, so that he'd be able to make his way around it. And so, which is pretty much like really puts it a test, especially when Dracula comes along, who just kind of Dracula just kind of goes against like any kind of like scientific reasoning that one would have at that point in time, especially for someone like him who wouldn't even typically believe in that kind of stuff. Hold on a sec. I thought the movie was pretty good. Standard creature feature that plays by the rules. Yeah, pretty neat stuff. If you want to come on, Vic, yeah, yep, you're welcome aboard. Welcome aboard to the Demeter. Yeah. I'll just keep this quiet here. It's a little too quiet. Yeah, too quiet.
Concerns Dr. Clemens, the first black doctor to graduate from Cambridge University.
You dress like a learned man. University of Cambridge, I know the way around the boat.
After going on a cross-continent tour, facing discrimination from hospitals all over Europe, Clemens decides to head back to England, hitching a ride as a crewman on the Demeter, which is hauling a big shipment of Transylvanian soil for some mysterious reason.
Yeah.
Why do they fill these boxes with earth?
Things start to go south when the ship's livestock are all killed, including the ship's beloved guard dog. Yes, the dog does die.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, the dog is probably like the first one to go. The first member of the crew to bite the dust. Yeah, forgot to mention that. Any dog lovers out there, sorry. Bad news. Also, spoiler for the movie. Hour and a half into the movie. We just went over, like, talking about the whole movie. Just spoiling the whole thing. Got the stream. And I didn't even put the spoiler warning. Man. Yeah.
And a mysterious stowaway woman is discovered in one of the crates. She's covered in bite marks and has lost a lot of blood. She just barely avoids death after Dr. Clemens gives her a blood transfusion. There are also mysterious sightings of a creepy white guy on the ship. And no, it's not Jared Leto.
Oh. Oh, man. Oh, damn. Oh, that's good. That's good. It's funny because, like, Jared Leto played a bat-oriented character named Morbius. It's Morbid time. Yo, it's Morbid time, folks. Anyways.
There are also mysterious sightings of a creepy white guy on the ship. And no, it's not Jared Leto.
It seems like blood.
When the woman, Anna, comes to, she reveals that a Dracula is aboard the Demeter. And not just any Dracula. Count Dracula!
Yeah, okay.
The Last Voyage of the Demeter is as straightforward a vampire movie as you can get.
It's still not overly complicated movie, just a pretty straightforward movie. It's kind of like a keep it simple, stupid kind of thing. You know, I mean, it pretty much certainly could have gone a bit more in depth, perhaps. Probably could have been a little deeper than possible, pretty much. I mean, there was like some hints here and there, thematic, in terms of some thematics about how the crew find themselves like in just a state of like just pretty much despair, which Dracula fear and despair, which Dracula really plays into a lot. Fear of death and all that, or worse, and despair because of just the circumstances that they're all in. Just basically seemingly like marooned on a ship by God himself to try to fend for themselves against like this force that's just picking them off one by one, that they don't even understand. And it kind of plays into how like some of the characters fall into that, like the captain, for instance. Like after he loses his grandson, he just kind of goes insane a little bit, like goes mad. Where it's just like he could just bring my grandson back. I could see him again. That's all I want. And it takes like Anna and Clemens just be like, dude, your grandson's not. Toby ain't coming back. We gotta. He would want you to try to move forward, pretty much. Don't let your memory be tainted by. Don't let your memory of him be tainted by what he became, by what Dracula did to him. And so it kind of gives like and help. So yeah, pretty much do this, help us stop this thing for your grandson. And it's a good scene, and Liam Cunningham does like a fan-freaking-tastic job in that scene, like well acted. So, and Aislinn Franciosi, she's great in this movie too, I will say. Like I haven't seen A Nightingale, so I've heard she's fantastic in that as well. Like I think that was probably like a breakout role for her. But yeah, seeing her in this is like, I am curious. All right, so I'm gonna post the StreamYard link again in the chat here. Anyone who wants to come on. Not sure if Vic is still here or Antonio is here. If either of you guys want to hop on, feel free. Feel more than free, actually. Yeah. Anyways, we'll move right along here. But yeah, I mean, like what just to kind of like bookend what I just said there. Like the film pretty much has a little more going on character-wise than the critics would often give it credit for, and I think we're about to hear that from Doctor Wolfula here in a bit. So, anyways.
Or the vampire movies you can get, especially as a Dracula adaptation. I actually laughed when the movie went out of its way opening with text saying it was based on the captain's log from the novel Dracula. Like that added context really matters. The movie.
Yeah, I definitely wish they could have just left that opening text out. That was kind of a problem, a bit of an issue that I have, because it just kind of just takes away a bit of the mystique there. Whatever mystique would remain for a film like for this particular film, this particular iteration of the Dracula story, like the text just was really unnecessary. They could have just saved it. Like, especially considering that it's credited during the closing credits of the film, anyways. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I no argument there on my end.
The opens with the Demeter already wrecked and everyone already dead, so the narrative effectively happens in flashback, showing how it happened. Even if you weren't familiar with the Demeter passage from the original story, or weren't thinking too much about the title of the film, the flick goes out of its way to tell you what's going to happen ahead of time, and this compounds the film's overall predictability.
Yeah, yeah. Would have been better to say journal found at the scene or something. I don't know. I think it probably. I don't know if we even need that necessarily. I think that I'd say like it would have been. I think that quote would just be. I think the issue that I would have with the whole based on the captain's log from Dracula, is from Bram Stoker's Dracula, is that it's like too meta, pretty much. I mean, your suggestion is pretty much a little better, perhaps. At least, or at least it wouldn't if there isn't much in the way of the meta. But I don't know. I pretty much just wouldn't even have any text at all. Like honestly. Like the text, what you suggest about journal found at the scene, that kind of like would sound like something that would be written in a police report, but I don't know, I wouldn't have it like on the screen pretty much as like on-screen text. It would just kind of I probably would have it just be like in like a Scotland Yard's like notes or what have you. But or like, and that's like at best. Probably wouldn't even have it at all. But I don't know.
The flick goes out of its way to tell you what's going to happen ahead of time, and this compounds the film's overall predictability.
He is on this ship. Which means we will never leave.
A frustrating aspect of the film is the characters don't know what a vampire is, and the movie goes to great lengths to slowly drip feed us the different characteristics of a vampire like they're all revelations. Like vampires are new to anybody at this point. point. We know vampires drink blood and hate the sun. You're not blowing our minds.
Well, I mean, in the context of this particular tale, like it's more to do with like the characters like seeing it for themselves. Pretty much, it's like it would just be weird if everybody on this ship was like, "Oh my God, there's a vampire on board." It just like it ultimately just yeah. I'm not really sure what to really say about that. Like I found the movie to be pretty engaging, pretty much. Like the pacing, like the movie, pretty much moves at a steady pace, pretty much. Like not like super fast pace or anything. But the pacing, I would say, works well enough for this film. Just kind of like to build the dread and tension and what have you. Even when we know, like, even though we know what's going to happen, it's just kind of, when it's going to happen or who's it's going to happen to and in what particular order and how these things are, how it's going to happen to them. Like, what are they going to experience? That's kind of where the tension sort of comes in. And the film, for the most part, does well at that. So, yeah. There's that.
We already pieced together what Dracula is from the trailers. It's just tedious.
And we all know where he plans to deliver us. To hell, Mr. Clowns.
The movie tries to get us emotionally invested in its fairly dry characters, but it's hard to when we know they fucking die. And most of the deaths are treated as these profoundly tragic moments that are supposed to make us sad. Ultimately, with a movie like this, the characters are only fodder. Meals for Dracula.
Couple characters, sure, but I don't know. Like I felt bad when the kid died. I don't know. I just, and there is like just something like inherently, just kind of like, goddamn, that sort of feeling that you get when you have like even if you don't know these characters all that well, like you would have to like at least feel like a little bit like feel like, damn, shit. Like when Ogarin, the guy who becomes zombified later on, is like being chased by Dracula. He's all like, please don't, no. And Dracula, just kind of just really creepily just whispers at him, please, no. Like that. And then he just like gives off an evil smile, pretty much. Like he's just like Draco is just enjoying the hunt, pretty much. And these people are just kind of like, you pretty much feel bad for them because it's like they don't really deserve it, really. But yeah, like I don't know, like when the grandson was kind of becoming a vampire fied, let's just say, and they have to dump him in the sea, like it's pretty much kind of like that scene was handled really well, pretty much really well acted, and the soundtrack is great, and yeah, it's just like, damn, these people, they ain't having a good time, let's just say. Damn. Anyways.
Meals for Dracula, who's the main star, but the film has a kind of iffy take on the Count. The premise of The Last Voyage of the Demeter is basically, what if Alien took place on the sea instead of space? And instead of an...
Hold on, let me check it back a little bit here.
Main star, but the film has a kind of iffy take on the Count.
Iffy take? I guess we'll see.
The premise of The Last Voyage of the Demeter is basically, what if Alien took place on the sea instead of space? And instead of an alien as the villain, it's a vampire. And the film really follows the structure of Alien closely. We only see brief glimpses of Dracula initially. It's nearly an hour in before you get a good look at him. Up till then, the characters just search through the ship for the vampire on the loose, but the Demeter is a far cry from the Nostromo. It's nowhere near as scary and vividly realized of an environment compared to Ridley Scott's spaceship.
I don't know. I thought the Demeter was pretty well realized. It's like there's like parts of it that feel a bit claustrophobic, and there's a bit of like real and the film does a good job at portraying like how creepy of a setting it is, like especially as the events progress. The film pretty much makes a good use of the environment, what have you. Especially with Dracula, like taking advantage of the whole thing. Yeah, like I don't. All right, let me just play back one more time for the road.
Then the characters just search through the ship for the vampire on the loose, but the Demeter is a far cry from the Nostromo. It's nowhere near as scary and vividly realized of an environment compared to Ridley Scott's spaceship. And because this movie is trying to do an alien riff on Dracula, the Count isn't the human-like vampire we're familiar with. He's a giant bat creature, kind of like Man-Bat from the Batman comics, and he looks like a naked Count Orlok with wings. Dracula in the...
I mean, is that really a problem? So, I mean, I kind of think Dracula's design in this movie is pretty awesome, pretty much. The only thing, though, is, like, the only issue I would kind of take is that with his design in general is mainly the very last appearance that he makes at the very end of the movie, where we kind of see him, like, sort of blending in with the crowd when he's like sitting in the bar at table pretty much near Clemens, where he's like in full wardrobe. Yeah, I mean, like he literally looks like Count Orlok from Nosferatu, like the fact that it like you just look at him and be like, how is this guy gonna be able to seduce like a woman like Mina or Lucy in the story? Or seduce anybody for that matter. How's this guy even gonna be able to blend in when he looks like a horrifying, like rat-looking monster dude? It's just like I would be surprised. Like it would just get to the point where people like the Nosferatu design works really well as like a really creepy, like just sort of like really creepy, vampire sort of look. But in terms of just blending in, it doesn't, for the character to blend in with the crowd, it doesn't quite work, pretty much. As opposed to like the Bela Lugosi look, or the Christopher Lee look, or the Gary Oldman look, where it's like, okay, they at least look like dudes, pretty much. They look like regular people, that could just walk in a crowd, and no one would even suspect them of doing anything, But you pretty much look at Dracula at the very last scene of this movie. It makes you wonder if someone would just like stop at a table and be like, "Are you a monster? You look like a monster." You look kind of. It's like the whole thing of like. It just kind of makes you wonder how nobody in the Senate in Revenge of the Sith like questioned why Palpatine looks like a horrible, evil monster dude. We're just like, "Are you evil?" I don't know. It's weird.
Film is purely a monster who kills. The design of this Dracula looks cool from the Batman comics, and he looks like a naked Count Orlok with wings. Dracula in the film is purely a monster who kills. The design of this Dracula looks cool in an action figure sort of way, but it's not really scary or unique in its own right. He's basically an over-the-top Count Orlok or Kurt Barlow.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it's what you consider to be scary is kind of subjective, pretty much. I could definitely say he looks more cool than scary, personally, but I could totally see certain circumstances where. But I could definitely say, like, at least when he starts out like crawling around, like he looks generally just like freaky and scary as fuck. Like there's certain scenes in the dark where he's just like, oh damn. So yeah, I mean, and the film is like really is directed rather well on the visual department, to make him look that creepy. So yeah.
The thing about Dracula in this really resembles the Dracula in the book, which this movie tries to connect itself to directly. It's just not very Dracula. It's also not very scary.
Yeah, hold on a sec.
This Dracula's book, which this movie.
I thought the design was cool and freaky looking. Yeah. I mean, I agree. The design is cool and freaky looking. I pretty much definitely agree on that. I'm gonna try to speed through this stream here.
But it's not really scary or unique in its own right. He's basically an over-the-top Count Orlok or Kurt Barlow. And nothing about Dracula in this really resembles the Dracula in the book, which this movie tries to connect itself to directly. It's just not very Dracula. It's also not very scary because this Dracula still feels so familiar, even if it's not a conventional Dracula.
Well, I mean, he's not trying to, like, Dracula doesn't necessarily need to blend in on the ship, pretty much, you know, with the rest of the crew. Like, he's just, you know, especially considering that he's going to kill them all anyways. So, it's not, so him just, like, putting up the facade is pretty much unnecessary at this point. In fact, it probably would only be, like, disadvantageous for him to try to do that for a while, because there would just come a point where he'll just, like, start killing the crew. You know, for their blood. But yeah, I mean, again, like the very last scene where Dracula is in the bar and then starts running out of the room, pretty much, and Clemens starts following him. That's like the only time where I could see this point being pretty valid, because yeah, how's Dracula looking like that even going to be able to blend in? Pretty much, he's not in bat form. He's pretty much supposed to be in human form, but his human form still has like this really creepy Nosferatu look to him. So, which again, the Nosferatu design, you know, is a great design, very iconic, but it's not something that would blend in with the crowd, unlike Bela Lugosi, who doesn't really look all that monstrous as a Dracula, pretty much. But yeah, that's. Anyways, I've said it already, so we can move on.
It's the worst of both worlds. I'm not expecting the
Worst of both? Okay, whatever. I don't really. Okay.
Scary because this Dracula still feels so familiar, even if it's not a conventional Dracula. It's the worst of both worlds. I'm not expecting the Dracula in this movie to be a guy in a cape who says blah, but there had to have been a middle ground somewhere, not just treating Dracula like a xenomorph for most of the movie.
You feed! Above all else, you feed!
I don't know if he necessarily, again, I don't know if you really need to do that. Like, I'd be curious to see if whatever sequel to this film that was going to come out were to try to do that, but that's kind of, yeah. I'd say Dracula on the ship feels dehydrated or something like that. Probably why he acts so creature-like at first rather than like a human. Well, yeah, exactly. Like, he's kind of, you know, he's trying to, like, you know, conserve as much, like, you know, of a food supply within, you know, for himself as possible. You know, but then there does come a point where he has to feed during the voyage. So, yeah, of course, yeah, it would make sense for him to start out looking really monstrous. So, yeah, I mean, like, as far as like the whole middle ground thing, it makes me wonder, like, if the sequel we're going to try to do that, which I'm not even sure how you would be able to do that. I mean, like, not that it'd be impossible, but yeah, I don't know. I think a reconsideration for Dracula's human form in this particular iteration would probably have to have been done, you know, in order for it to work, or at least like work better. I don't know. But considering that we're never going to get a sequel to this film anyways, it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I mean, fuck me then, I suppose.
You've seen Alien or any vampire movie, you know everything that's going to happen, and the film ends with a total anticlimax because it has to. Dracula can't die on the Demeter because he doesn't in the book. He's got to be in London, somehow infiltrating society while looking like a total demon. So Dracula just gets away in the end, and it's very unsatisfying, seeming to maybe set up some sequel telling an alternate version of the rest of the Bram Stoker book. It's kind of funny. It almost feels like The Last Voyage of the Demeter tries to be a second attempt at setting up a dark universe. It even has an Easter egg where they show Larry Talbot's cane from the Wolfman.
Well, now, granted, I don't really. It's hard to really know what the intent for this movie even really is, but upon closer inspection, I don't think that the wolf cane that Dracula holds in this film, or that's in his luggage, is supposed to be a callback to the Wolfman. I think it's probably just like there was like an alternate version of the opening for this film where Dracula is in a wolf form. It was unfinished in CGI, so the CGI for it was unfinished, so they didn't use it. But it's on the DVD and Blu-ray bonus features for the film as like a deleted scene or alternate scene. So I think the cane is supposed to call back to that, but that's probably my best bet. But even then, I don't think there was like really an intention for the cane to tie back to the Talbots or the Wolfman by any means. And I mean, although I wouldn't be completely surprised if that was the case, if there was a plan for this movie to lead into another dark universe, considering it is Universal, but it was also DreamWorks involved, or I don't know. I guess we pretty much won't really find out unless someone who worked on the film would just be like, "Oh yeah, we totally intended for Last Voyage of the Demeter to lead into another attempt at a dark universe." I guess, yeah. Again, we won't really know, will we?
It would be the one cool thing to come out of Last Voyage of the Demeter being made if it led to a new monster universe secretly being built, but it's unlikely. He's coming! I've been harsh towards the Last Voyage of the Demeter, but it's really just okay. But in that particularly unremarkable way, the movie's not good, but it's also not bad, where you can have a lot to talk about with it, maybe even feel passionate about how bad it is. It really just doesn't elicit much of any reaction, positive or negative.
It elicits like more positive from me than negative, I would say. You know, there's definitely warts in the film for sure, but you know, it's still pretty solid. But yeah, more elaboration on that in a future video. But yeah, that's kind of my general gist. I don't know. That's just me.
It's a movie that's competently made, and it isn't feel passionate about how bad it is. It really just doesn't elicit much of any reaction, positive or negative. It's a movie that's competently made, and it isn't too boring that you fall asleep during it, but it's boring enough you'll be yawning quite a few times. It's understandable why The Last Voyage of the Demeter was shelved for 20 years. A script like this is a low priority for any major studio. I think Universal only finally shot it because they needed a movie to fill in an empty gap in their schedule. When Nolan signed his contract with Universal for Oppenheimer back in 2021, one of his demands was that no Universal movie could come out after Oppenheimer for 3 weeks. Guess what? They shot The Last Voyage of the Demeter in 2021 and didn't release it until more than a year later, 3 weeks after Oppenheimer came out. Last Voyage of the Demeter serves the purpose of giving Universal something to release in Oppenheimer's wake that won't distract from it or lose too much money.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole heck of a lot else to say about it. I mean, yeah, pretty much. I would say the only thing I could say about that is that, yeah, it pretty much does seem kind of interesting if the movie was kind of intended to just sort of fill in the slot because they just weren't real, like, especially with the fact that, you know, it took so long to get the script going because it wasn't really top priority for the studio. Yeah, it just kind of makes you wonder. Anyways.
Which is kind of sad because there was a time when horror movies, especially starring monsters like Dracula, were Universal's tentpole films. How things change. I give The Last Voyage.
Yeah. Kind of a shame.
Voyage of the Demeter, a Demeter out of Nostromo.
Yeah, basically he's kind of like giving it's kind of like an arbitrary rating system that it gives. It's a little bit confusing for me, but I mean, it's very much an arbitrary rating. It's kind of like mainly sort of like you just listen to the whole review and you kind of get an idea of like what he thinks of the film overall, and the rating system he gives it is just kind of just cause. I mean, it's a slightly more interesting take on the rating system than your typical like 5-star rating sort of spiel or number rating, but I mean, I can understand someone would be confused by that. you know, just on the outset or onset. I mean, yeah, what outset? What is it? It's like you mean outlet? No.
Tentpole films.
Oh.
How things change.
Well, I backed up way too far. Hold on a sec. Yeah.
Now I want to see a Last Voyage adventure movie about how they got King Kong from Skull Island to New York. While I still have your attention, subscribe to the Gulag channel, which will be returning soon with a review of Scooby-Doo, the Mystery.
All right, and yeah, I guess that seems the
Subscribe, please. Oh, and if you haven't watched my Cruel Jaws review yet.
yeah, it's basically a plug for the channel and, you know, the content that was like recent at the time. So
give it a watch. If you like this video, like it. And if you loved it, click the subscribe and bell buttons for more vids. I'd also like to thank these fine folks pledged my shout out here on Patreon for all their kind support. Videos like this wouldn't be possible without all their help. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Dr. Wolfula is signing out.
yeah, I pretty much yeah, I recommend Doctor Wolfula. Check him out. You know, subscribe to his Patreon, or what have you, or check out his other content. Yeah. Yeah, I like Doctor Wolfula. Yeah, as far as the Last Voyage of the Demeter review, it's fine, pretty much. I mean, it's not like, I mean, obviously it's not a super detailed review, but at the same time, it's like not, I mean, it goes into, obviously it kind of goes into more detail than your average like spoiler-free review, because he kind of talks about how Dracula wins in the end, pretty much, and how it's like, oh yeah, we kind of know how it's going to end. Which, fair enough, I suppose. I guess that would be fair game at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's, as far as like reviews go, it's not bad. You know, it's, you know, I definitely have disagreements on it. But it's nothing like egregious, pretty much. Like not too egregious of like disagreements, for sure. Or like not like there's some takes here and there that kind of go, I wish there was like a little more nuance to what you're trying to say about why this sort of element works or doesn't work. But yeah, but yeah, I don't think it's a terrible video by any means. It's not, you know, and there was like maybe like one questionable like bit of editing at one point. But other than that, it's not a bad video. And I recommend checking out Dr. Wolfula's videos. Yeah, I really liked his Son of Frankenstein review, actually. Pretty solid video that he put together. You know, especially considering that I did a video on Son of Frankenstein as well back in April. His review on Son of Frankenstein even had like a bonus sort of review thing on The Ghost of Frankenstein, the follow-up for that film. Personally, if you ask me, yeah, I'm putting my mouth very close to the mic here. Personally, I think Ghost of Frankenstein would warrant a video on its own. But that would have to be a discussion or topic for another day. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much about it. Video's over. Again, check out Dr. Wolfula's stuff. Check him out. And yeah, I would like to thank all you folks who came to stop by and take a listen here. As well as a shout out to Kraken, Crazy Kraken, and Minecraft World for coming on. Thank you guys. If you're watching at the end of this for stream, going to playback. And thank everyone else who did show up. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the stream here. Or I guess I'll just wrap it up here. Yeah, stay tuned for more streams to come. You know, which will be happening next Friday. So yeah, stay tuned to that. We'll be getting back into the MonsterVerse. I wanted to take a break. I wanted to take a break from the MonsterVerse for a bit for my 13th Sea Monster live stream. You know, and I would just think like, you know, for my 13th stream, it should be horror based. I was originally gonna have the stream pushed back to like when Alien Romulus were to come out, but I'm just like, that seems a bit too long. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do a stream devoted to the Last Voyage of Demeter. But because I wanted to talk about it for a bit, considering it's almost a year old at this point. But yeah, again, Thank you all for stopping by. Catch you all on the flip side. Hopefully I'll see you all next week, next stream. Bye.